Hey friends, Ash here with Gents. Today I'm going over with you guys 10 different fragrance houses and which fragrance I would keep from each house if I could choose only one to keep. I did this before, but with completely different fragrance houses, so each one of these is going to be a new one that I have not talked about in this way. And of course, depending on which day you catch me, my answer could change since we're talking about just one. Now, sometimes there's a clear favorite that's my absolute favorite, my absolute top from the house, and it will never change, but a lot of times it kind of depends on what mood I'm in for that particular day, and I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about. So we've got a lot to talk about, a lot of fragrances, a lot of houses. Let's jump into this. First up, the house of Azzaro, probably most well known for their line of chrome fragrances. The original chrome, chrome aqua, chrome pure, chrome legend, chrome united, on and on and on, chrome sport. But from Azzaro, if I could choose just one, it would be Wanted by Night. And this one I feel pretty comfortable with. It has tobacco, cinnamon, mandarin orange, other fruity notes. Great night out fragrance, great fall and wintertime fragrance. It's a bit of a departure from the original Wanted, which was much more similar to Paco Rabanne's Invictus. Wanted by Night for me, a little bit more grown up, but at the same time has a youthful touch to it. Big compliment puller, big attention grabber, easy to use. It does have cumin in the fragrance, but not too much of it, so you never have to worry about any kind of funky body odor or sweat kind of vibe from that cumin, which on rare occasions can be an issue, but not here, not in Wanted by Night. This one is really just a great, spicy, sweet, sexy kind of fragrance, and for the price that it goes for, which is not all that much, it's a stunner. So for me, Wanted by Night. Now, the original Azzaro Pour Homme, I also kind of thought about a little bit. That one is an amazing barbershop fragrance, but I feel like Wanted by Night would get more use from me. So next up, Dunhill, or Alfred Dunhill. This one was also fairly easy. For me, it's going to be Icon, just the original Icon. It has bergamot, pepper, lavender, neroli, and vetiver. That's some of the notes in the fragrance. And this one is great for spring and fall. You could potentially wear it in summer or winter as well. So there's a lot of versatility here. It could be an all year kind of fragrance. More of a daytime scent for me. Great one to wear to the office, and a great one casually as well. Got a bit of a sophisticated vibe to it, a little more refined, a little more gentlemanly, not quite as youthful as Wanted by Night. Not that Wanted by Night is super youthful, but this one even less so. The bottle, the presentation, very heavy, very nice. It's got a clean look all the way around, and the fragrance as well, pretty clean with good pops of fresh spice. One thing I should also mention is that I'm not including private lines in this list, and I'm not including discontinued fragrances. So if one of the fragrance houses I'm talking about has a private line, those are not being included here. These are just the mainline fragrances. And discontinued fragrances obviously not being included because you can't really find them nowadays unless you want to pay up for it. Next up, Burberry. This one was also pretty easy for me. It's going to be London, and that one is just my favorite Burberry pretty much all the way around. Now, Mr. Burberry, the Eau de Toilette, or maybe even the Eau de Parfum, those ones might have more versatility, or do have more versatility, because they're more in that blue style of fragrance, you know, that hyper versatility year-round, daytime, nighttime, whatever situation. London is more fall and winter, and a little more of an evening fragrance, I'd say, but it just smells awesome. And for me, London, in terms of just how much I like it, is far above the Mr. Burberry line. Now, you also have the Burberry Brit line of fragrances, and some of those are pretty good. But again, London is just above all the other fragrances from the house. Tobacco, cinnamon, port wine, and lavender, some of the notes in Burberry London, and a lot of people will say that London is the fragrance of the holidays, basically from like November through the new year. A lot of people will say, oh yeah, London encapsulates that better than almost any other designer out there. And I can definitely get where people are coming from with that one. Performance on London not amazing, but the fragrance is. So for me, Burberry London. Next up, let's do Gucci. Gucci has had some amazing fragrances in the past. Pour Homme, Pour Homme 2, Rush, Envy, some of my favorites. Even going back to Gucci Nobile, they've had some great fragrances. Nowadays, it's mainly the Gucci Guilty line, so a lot of those are not as great. And if I were gonna go with just one, for me, if I'm going with just one Gucci, it's gonna be Intense Oud. It's a little bit more on the expensive side, but it's worth it. It's got incense, woods, and resin, of course, also oud, some of the notes in the fragrance. And this one gets compared to Black Afghano by Nasamato. The quality of Intense Oud, very high. The fragrance smells amazing. Another fall and winter fragrance, more winter than fall. And it seems like kind of a common thread. A lot of the fragrances that I really enjoy, the ones that I reach for the most, are cooler weather fragrances. They just have a little more to them. Now, don't get Intense Oud confused with Gucci Guilty Oud. Two separate fragrances, don't smell anything alike. And for me, Intense Oud is much better than Guilty Oud. Performance on this fragrance, enormous. It's fantastic. It's gonna last all day or all night. It projects heavily. You don't have to spray much of it on, and it's just a killer fragrance. One of Gucci's best. Seriously though, Gucci, bring back Envy. You gotta do it. Up next, Cartier. This fragrance house, well known for the Declaration and Pasha de Cartier lines. For me, Declaration D'un Soir. That's gonna be the fragrance. Rose, pepper, sandalwood, and cardamom, some of the notes in this fragrance. Rose being the most dominant. It's a really nice fresh rose. It's not super feminine, it's not jammy, it's not overly dense. It's a great springtime fragrance, just stunner. There are actually a good amount of fragrances from this house that are maybe overlooked by the vast majority of people. The quality in Cartier fragrances is there. The new Pasha de Cartier Parfum, very good. The original Pasha de Cartier Eau de Toilette, very good. Maybe younger guys wouldn't go for that one, but middle-aged and up, check that fragrance out, great. The original Declaration, also great. But I've got to go with this one, D'un Soir, because the rose is just great. One of the best designer rose notes. Next up, let's do Jean Paul Gaultier. And this is one that probably would change depending on what mood I'm in. The house is really just Le Male and all of the Le Male flankers at this point. They've had other fragrances in the past that kind of try to do their own thing, you know, away from the Le Male lines, but they've discontinued. So for me, it's gonna be Eau Fraiche as of right now. So this one changes year over year, the bottle design. Originally it was Popeye Eau Fraiche and then Superman Eau Fraiche and on. But this one is really nice in spring or summer. It's maybe not the most complex or complicated fragrance, but it's one I really like to wear, one I like to smell. It's got mint, vanilla, tonka, aldehydes, and ambroxan. That's some of the notes in the fragrance. It is sweet. The mint is not really a hyper realistic mint. It's one of those, like I just mentioned, sweeter kind of takes on mint, but it works very well. Very refreshing, uplifting, brisk, and attention grabbing. Big compliment puller. For me, it came down between this and Ultra Male. Those seem to be the ones I wear the most from this house. So as of right now, Eau Fraiche. Up next, Carolina Herrera, and the fragrance from that house is gonna be CH Privé for me. What's funny is the name Carolina Herrera holds a lot of weight when I hear it as far as designer fragrances go. But if you really go and look through all the releases that Carolina Herrera has done, a lot of them are not that good. Actually, a surprising amount. Not that good. But when they do nail it, they've got some great fragrances. So CH Privé, most well known for having a boozy leather kind of vibe to it, also with a good amount of sweetness and bits of spice. It's a big compliment pulling fragrance. It's not a big performer. It doesn't last and last and last. It doesn't project all that heavily, but that's something that a number of Herrera fragrances share with this one, the Performance. Now let's do Davidoff. For Davidoff, obviously the biggest fragrance is gonna be Cool Water. Everybody knows Cool Water. It's got a million flankers, not literally, but it's got a lot of them. Run Wild came out in the near past, and that's got kind of a similarity to Paco Rabanne's Invictus, again. For me, if I were gonna keep just one from Davidoff, it would be Zino. It has patchouli, woods, lavender, rose, vanilla. It's actually got a ton of notes, and it's a little bit similar to Tom Ford's Beau de Jour. This one's just a classic men's fragrance. I really think that if you have a decent sized collection, you should probably own this one, if nothing else, to be able to reference back to it. Like I said, it's got that similarity to Beau de Jour, but at a much, much, much lower price. And like I said, Cool Water is huge. Everybody knows it. But for me, I would just rather have the Zino. And I think that I would actually wear that over Cool Water, because realistically, if I want that Cool Water vibe, I'll just wear Green Irish Tweed. I guess you could say the same thing here and just say, well, I'd wear Beau de Jour, but I disagree. I believe that is 8. So next we'll do Paco Rabanne. Paco Rabanne has countless huge fragrance releases. The one that I would choose is actually not really gonna be a popular choice, but it's my favorite, at least as of right now, and it's Pure Excess. It's got vanilla, liquor, myrrh, sugar, and cinnamon, some of the notes in the fragrance. It's got kind of a soda vibe to it, this effervescence to the fragrance when you spray it on, sweet, sugary effervescence to the fragrance, and I just absolutely love it. Now this one, I know a lot of people, like I said, don't overly love, but for me, first time I smelled it, fell in love with it. Some people would say Pure Excess Night is better than Pure Excess, but for me, the original is the way to go. Pure Excess Night is fine. I like that one as well, but yeah. Now Pure Excess is gonna be more of a nighttime fragrance, but I wear it during the day as well. It's gonna be more of a fall and wintertime fragrance. I know that a lot of people with Paco Rabanne would probably go with one of the Invictus fragrances, or one of the 1 Millions, or even the original Paco Rabanne Pour Homme. Great, great fougere fragrance there, but it's Pure Excess for me. It did have a cheesy sort of ad campaign, but the scent itself, with that kind of sparkling, syrupy, sweet nature that it has, just does it for me. Okay, last one for this video, gonna be Varvatos. Yeah, John Varvatos. For me, this one very easy. It's gonna be vintage. Suede, fir, tonka, rhubarb, and tobacco, some of the notes in this fragrance. Artisan Pure is a fragrance that a lot of people love, and that one would probably be second from Varvatos. That one is a great summertime fragrance. Very clean, lots of citrus in there. But vintage has just really grown on me over the years. It's one that I really liked the first time I smelled it, but over the years, I've grown to enjoy it much, much more. The little bit of rhubarb in there gives you this nice tartness. It's like this little bit of freshness kind of playing off of the tobacco and the suede leather. So it never gets too heavy, but at the same time, it's really approachable, very easy to wear. It's got sweetness to it, it's got spice, and it's just, in my opinion, the best fall and wintertime fragrance that Varvatos has made. It's actually been a staple of mine for quite a while. Performance on it isn't great. I would probably change that if I could, make it have a little bit more longevity, a little more projection, but for the price that you can get this at, it's a winner. So there we go, Varvatos Vintage. That one is gonna wrap this up. 10 designer houses, and which fragrance I would keep if I could keep just one. All right guys, thanks for hanging out with me today. Thanks for all your support. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you guys tomorrow with another fragrance video. See you guys.